In this video, we're going to be going over Chapter 8, Ethics, Politics, and Etiquette. We'll be dealing with the bases of power and how we can increase those power bases. What are some of the influencing tactics we can use? Techniques to improve our human relations and business etiquette and customer complaints, how to handle them. Now, power is a person's ability to influence somebody else. Now, it's necessary to have power in various organizations. Depends on who has it, okay? It can affect their performance. How much do you give as far as power is concerned? Organizational power is used to manipulate and possibly corrupt. It has a kind of a negative connotation about that. The thing is, we need to find power that is positive and properly used. We have several different levels of power. You have position power, and you have personal power. All right? These various bases of power are necessary to understand so that you can use them in the right situation. Now, coercive power is basically using threats and punishment. Now, it is appropriate when it's needed to make sure that you are enforcing discipline and things like that. The thing is, you don't want to use it all the time. Connection power is who you know and what kind of connections do you have with others who do have that power. This is where networking really does come into play, where if you have some connections to some of the more powerful people, you actually have power that goes along with that. Reward power is the power to influence others by giving some sort of a reward or favor or something like that. Legitimate power is based on a person's position and title. So, for example, if somebody has a title of director or vice president, they're going to have a legitimate amount of power based on their position in the organization. There's referent power. In other words, that's based on your own personal power and how people refer to you. In other words, there's a lot of charm that goes along with it. People like you, and they tend to go along with you because of that. Information power is having the information that others might want. Having information power makes sure that a lot of stuff flows through you. And then you have expertise, expert power, based on your skill and knowledge, and you're the one that everybody goes to when there's a problem or an issue or they need to know something, this sort of thing. When you think about the most effective types of power, expert power and referent power are actually the most effective. Coercive power, reward power, and legitimate power are least effective. What typically happens if you're trying to use reward power or coercive power, people may be thinking, okay, you may have won this battle, but you haven't won the war. The most effective are referent power. In other words, what are you doing to build those relationships? And expertise. You can use different types of powers in different situations. Along with that power, you use that power to influence, be able to persuade somebody to do something. There's 5 tactics that go along with influencing somebody else. Now, it's important to make sure that you're reading the people that you're dealing with so that you can utilize the correct tactics that go along with it. And one of the things you want to do in all cases, wherever you can, is to create that win-win, a win for everyone. The first influencing tactic is ingratiation. In other words, providing somebody praise, being sensitive to their moods, acknowledging them and that what you're asking them to do could be an inconvenience, this sort of thing. It's kind of an emotional appeal. The thing is, what you're doing is you are trying to get on their good side in order to influence them. Rational persuasion is using logic, kind of a Mr. Spock approach. Most people, when they're trying to influence someone, tend to utilize a rational persuasion. What you're doing is you're providing valid evidence, all right, pros and cons, all the facts. An inspirational appeal is where you are appealing to one's emotions. You're providing information that it helps that person personally, creating a vision as far as where it is you're trying to go. Personal appeal. In other words, you're asking them, oh, please do it for me. And then legitimization. In other words, what are the policies? What are the procedures that are necessary? What kind of precedent has been done in the past? The key is to mix and match these based upon the situation. You may start off with a rational persuasion, move to kind of an inspirational appeal, and then lastly a personal appeal, or something along those lines. It depends upon the situation. Mix and match based on what the situation is and what the person needs. Now, politics goes along with this. Politics is really nothing more than the art of influence. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to influence someone, and you may use political approaches to do that. Now, there's positive and there's negative politics. When people think about politics, they normally think of the negative. In other words, the brown nosing and this sort of thing. There's also a lot of positive politics that you need to learn and understand. We do have a self-assessment, a 2, that looks at your political behavior, see how you're doing. Now, some of the things that you can do as far as political behavior and being able to influence somebody. First of all, networking is key. Getting to know people, building relationships with people throughout the organization. Reciprocity. In other words, doing things for others so that they will be willing to do things for you. Coalition building. In other words, putting together an alliance or networks so that you have information, you have other people who can kind of have your back. You can be good at politics without being a jerk. You don't have to utilize negative politics. The key is utilize the positive politics to be more influential. Being politically correct is important. In other words, you need to be aware of the language that you're using and how you're going about doing things. Vertical politics is the relationships that you have with your boss and the people that report to you. They're very important as far as being influential in the organization and being successful. Your relationship with the boss is really important, and the reason is because that can be a difference between success or failure. You have to have that good relationship with folks. Adapt your style to what it is that the boss needs as far as for that boss to be successful and for you to be successful. When you think about the things that you want to do as far as managing your boss, first of all, be loyal. Okay? Do not talk about your boss behind their back. Do not go over their heads. That is a career killer right there. Cooperate. Take the initiative to do more, to go above and beyond. Never, ever, ever let your boss be surprised. Be open to feedback. Your boss is going to give you some feedback. They may give you some criticism. Be open to it. And do everything you can to regain the trust if you had lost it for some reason. Now, your relationships with others, with subordinates, is really important also. We need to be human and not abusive. We need to make sure that we're thinking about that leader-member exchange model for developing those positive relationships. We should be looking for win-win situations wherever we can. And again, as we talked about earlier in a previous chapter, find people doing something right and praise them for it. Now, it says here that it's inadvisable to have a friendship with your boss, and I disagree with that. I have had situations where I had a boss and we were friends. We also knew where the line went as far as what it is that we were supposed to do. I had responsibilities, she had responsibilities, we could still be friends. Having an open door policy is also important also. In other words, being available, being accessible so that people can talk to you and share information. We also need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to build the relationships with people in other parts of the organization. This is where networking comes into play. Because if you need something that may need to come from another part of the organization, having people there that you know, that you have those relationships with, can be very beneficial. And then when you think about customer satisfaction, one of the primary goals that we have in business is to make sure that our customers are happy and they're going to continue to buy what it is that we're selling. We have to listen to what it is that they're needing. If we are listening, then it makes it much easier to keep those customers happy. Some of the things not to do: don't ignore them. If customers come in, let's say you're working at a retail place someplace, and somebody comes in, don't ignore them. Even if you're busy, you acknowledge them. Hey, I'll be with you in just a sec. Do not conduct personal business while you're waiting on customers. Don't sit there on your phone talking to your buddies while you're trying to ring somebody up. Don't be rude with defensive customers, and always apologize even if you weren't wrong. Now, if you are dealing with a dissatisfied customer, one of the primary things you want to do is go back to your listening skills that we had talked about in an earlier chapter and reflect back the things that they're saying, the content and the feelings of what it is that they're saying. Ask them how they might want to resolve it. See what it is that they're saying. They may be unreasonable. The thing is, most people are not, and you might be able to find something that can help them with that. Find a way to implement your solution quickly and do everything you can to prevent any kind of complaints by following up wherever you can. So those are some of the key points from the chapter. If you have questions, give me a call.